It's Autumn Carnival time. Adam Hamilton with you, joined by Peter Moody, Glen Boss and Anthony Mithen. We're going to have a look at the 2-year-olds and who we think the stars of this Autumn Carnival will be. I'm going to go to you first, Mood. You've trained some wonderful 2-year-olds over the years. Have we seen a standout 2-year-old yet?
I don't think we've seen the good 2-year-old yet. I think it's very much an open book. We'll learn more the next 4 to 6 weeks.
It's interesting you say that. So nothing's jumped out and just grabbed your attention.
We've seen immature types perform admirably, which tells me there hasn't been a big dominant 2-year-old come out if the immature types can hold their own at this point.
Doesn't augur well for me, Peter, given that you train a few 2-year-olds. You've had 2 stakes placed 2-year-olds under the Rosemont banner, and you've won the Maribyrnong Plate with Brereton at Group 3 level before Christmas. I want to plump for one that's unraced. I know, there's been some exposed form, but I want to ask you about Mullane, a horse that we share the ownership in, that I've just felt like you've had a notch above those ones that I mentioned earlier.
Well, the horses that I have taken to the races for you, if you stop talking and listen for a minute, I've always indicated to you that they're immature and will be better later in the season. And that they're being competitive at this point tells me that the horses around them are limited.
Fired him up now.
Yeah, we've got him fired.
So I love it. You need to listen a bit. Mullane, very nice horse. Will we see him in the autumn? Probably a little question mark there, but he's a very nice colt.
So I want to bring you in here, Bossy. Opinions are so divided over the strength or otherwise of that Magic Millions form, but you're actually bunking up for it.
Well, I'm just going with what I've seen so far. And, I haven't had anything to do with unraced 2-year-olds this year, obviously not riding, but Coolangatta, she just keeps turning up, doing the job. What you see is what you get. She just keeps coming out and beating everyone else. I tell you, this is a great time of the year. February, March, things just jump out of the ground. I understand stats and ratings have a big part of racing, but you can't factor in horses' will to win, and she just keeps winning.
He's the goldfish version for us punters. Just remembers what happened last,
but
which was Coolangatta, which she was good though.
She is the benchmark horse. She is the form horse. But by admission of her own stable, the Mar Eustace stable, they've nursed her to get her to where they've got, which tells you the horses that she is beating, they're going to struggle to catch up to her if she gets physically stronger. So when she's big enough to be able to train, look out. Yeah. But at the moment, she's probably just beating them on talent, not physique. And you need physique to be the dominant 2-year-old Blue Diamond slipper horse. They're strong, they're mature, they've got a big head on them, a good deep girth. We haven't seen that one yet. Maybe we won't.
Yeah.
And she wins it.
And the funny thing is, last year we saw Artorias come through a maiden at Sandown and go on and win a Blue Diamond. It was a 1,300 metre maiden. There were lots of question marks about form, but he was the dominant 2-year-old in the end. So we might have seen it, but we haven't seen it go and do it at that level yet.
Well, I love your swing around here, because first up you're arguing with Moods, now you're finishing up
I would argue with everyone.
by agreeing with him. You've won that battle, Moods. But look, it's summary time. Who is your 2-year-old at the moment?
Give us something to watch, Pete. Come on.
Oh, listen, my best exposed 2-year-old's a horse called Rampant Lion that Anthony Part owns, and he's a very nice horse, and he's a bit in the Coolangatta category. He's a bit backward. He's going to be a much better 3-year-old. I'm hoping that he can, get the job done in the Blue Diamond in a few weeks' time. So for me, personally, he's the best I've got.
But you still think the best may be yet to come?
It could be exposed in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Bossy, you're going to stick with that Magic Millions form?
The goldfish is going to stick with Coolangatta. I think yes. I think the Magic Million form might hold up this year.
Oh, I knew I'd offend you. I'm going to go. I love the Rampant Lion thought, but I'll just let the punters in on one. If you want to have a long range bet, Golden Slipper Day, maybe it's Mullane, who we haven't seen yet. One of ours that we've got high hopes for. Mullane, Golden Slipper, Bossy, Coolangatta, Golden Slipper. And I'm going to go Extravagant Star. I love that win in the Inglis Millennium. I like the fact they said no to Melbourne. They're going to stay up in Sydney and just get ready for the Slipper, but you're not so sure.
Well, we saw that form tested last year through Profiteer, who's one of our very good fast horses. But a bit like the Magic Millions, these restricted races, you've got to be open-minded that they've raced against a certain, fishbowl of horses. Not to the outside horses. She looked good, but there's another big group to come.
She would have been set for that race, though, Pete.
Yeah, for sure.
Big money. They would have been set for that day.
And got the job.
Hard to do it again.
Yeah, got it done.
Well, that's our thoughts on the 2-year-old. Plenty of healthy debate. Who do you think is the standout 2-year-old for a diamond or a slipper? Leave it in the comments below. Everybody's raving about these 3-year-olds. They look set to dominate this Autumn Carnival. Bossy, to you first here. Is this a once-in-a-generation crop of 3-year-olds?
Well, it feels like there's a bit of a changing of the guard. I think this crop of 3-year-olds, there's some real good sprinters there. There's some, what I believe, some really good middle distance horses. And I think there's a good crop of 3-year-olds that'll go on and dominate the sort of middle distance to staying events. I just feel like there's a real shift to the change of the guard. And I really love what I've seen, you know, in the spring going to the autumn.
I tried to pressure down for one 3-year-old here, and we'll get to who that is soon. But you threw about 4 or 5 of them at me. Moods, is he right?
Oh, listen, there is a lot of promising horses. We saw some great exposure to them during the Melbourne Spring Carnival and the back end of the Sydney. You know, your Profondos versus Haitutsus, you know, the unknown, how good is Fangirl and Espiona and those types of fillies, how are they going to come on? It's pretty exciting. And then we forget the horse that arguably should have won the Cox Plate, Nanamo. Yeah. You know, they're exciting. And like Glen rightly said, from 5 furlongs, 1,000 metres through to 2,400, it's going to be a great time. But for me, Profondo and Haitutsu, their clash in the Rosehill Guineas, I think could be one of the great moments of the autumn.
Well, and there is the chance here. There's the weight for age stocks in Australia, whilst strong enough, we are talking about Zaki being a 7-year-old and horses that are getting a little longer in the tooth. So to your point, Glenn, I think the Australian racing public are crying out for new heroes to step into that space.
Yeah, and the thing is, you actually put about 3 or 4 up, and then actually forget about the other 4, and they're just as good. I think there's a big pool.
Well, none of you have mentioned my 3-year-old of this segment, which is Home Affairs.
Where's that one? Oh, yeah.
It has to be Home Affairs. I mean, his dominant win in the Coolmore, I can't get that out of my head. He did beat Extreme Warrior, gave him absolute windburn, and just looked like a star in the making. Yeah. We'll see him this week in the Lightning up against Nature Strip. What a mouth-watering clash that is, and then probably on to a Newmarket and perhaps all the pomp and ceremony of Royal Ascot. So Home Affairs for me just stands out as that exciting sprinting 3-year-old colt that we all want to see go well, and I reckon Australia will be barracking for in middle of the year.
And the nature of Australian racing, we've probably got to enjoy these colts because we might not see them at 4 because some of them are owned by our dominant breeders, Coolmore, Darley and the likes. Will they come back? Will they brave the elements at 4? We know Home Affairs is going to Europe. Will he all of a sudden find himself in an Irish landscape and we might not see him on these shores again? Profondo with a close connection to Arrowfield.
We haven't mentioned in the Congo, Newgate, they're dominating with their colts at the moment.
Exactly, so enjoy them while they're here. The great thing is the unexposed in Espiona is in the great hands of Chris Waller, and can't he mould a great mare? Yeah. So we might get to see her beyond her 3-year-old year.
It is a remarkable set of 3-year-olds, and it's time to pin you down for one 3-year-old and the race you think it's most suited to.
Yeah, I think it's Home Affairs, and I'm not sure he'll be fully wound up for the Lightning. Newmarket for me, Home Affairs, and can't wait to see him at Royal Ascot.
Bossy?
Espiona, I think if they go towards Doncaster, I think if 3-year-old filly get in, she probably gets 50 kilos. It might be...
You might have to come out of retirement.
I'll tell you, she'd be one that I would come out in retirement to ride because I think if she goes to a Doncaster with 50 or 51 kilos, they won't see which way she goes.
Moods?
Well, after Johnny Farnham makes his 3rd comeback here next week, you know, you've got to respect that. She's a super filly and races like the Coolmore, and that might be at a mercy. For me, Profondo looks the excitement machine. Great respect for Haitutsu, what he did. He resumes in the Australian Guineas first up, but I can't wait for that Profondo Haitutsu clash in the Rosehill Guineas, but probably just a slight leaning to Profondo playing on his home deck.
Well, I think you've forgotten one. Adamo. Why isn't he going to steal the show and win the Randwick Guineas and maybe go on even after that and win a Queen Elizabeth as well?
Well, he's not going to... Well, is he going to be in the Rosehill Guineas? That's what I'm thinking. You know, will he end up at a George Ryder? Yeah. He'll probably win that and beat the older horses. I've got a little mail on Enemo for later in the show for mine. Ooh. I think he's the one that can dominate the older horses, where Profondo and Haitutsu, they might just dominate the 3-year-olds.
Well, we're all excited about this 3-year-old crop. They do look something quite special. Do you think they're going to dominate this Autumn Carnival? Leave it in the comments below. The sprinters are so intriguing this Autumn Carnival. You've got the old boy, the champ, Nature Strip, trying to fend off all these young bucks coming through. Who's going to win these major sprint races? I'm going to go to you first here, Mitho. Nature Strip, has he still got it in those old legs?
Oh, look, there's no doubt. I mean, he's trialled up well. He's an evergreen, isn't he? He doesn't seem to put a foot wrong. He's got better with age. He's now the more furnished and finished racing product, which Chris Waller told us, and we should have listened early days. He was a bit of a head case. He was a bit off his nut, but he's now settled. He does what he's told, and that is... Well, we've heard it before from Peter Moody on his podcast. He's a fast horse that runs fast, and he's allowed to run fast.
Well, we get an absolute highlight of the autumn coming this weekend, don't we? Where we get to see Home Affair against Nature Strip. Are you a little surprised they're clashing in this race?
Oh, well, listen, one's a very valuable colt and one's an old warrior that's a gelding that can go around in anything. And I think Nature Strip, he's the one at the forefront of our mind. But there's one a year older, Eduardo. At one the same age, Guitra. These are horses that have dominated the sprints for the last 3 years. But I'm with Glen a little bit, but we still need to see it. These exciting 3-year-olds, are they going to be able to overtake these old tough nuts? But God, they're going to be, they're going to have to be good to do it, because we've seen them do it year in, year out. They're sound, they're tough. They just go to war every time. Nature Strip, Eduardo,
Well, he's the world's
Guitra.
best sprinter for one reason.
Yeah.
He's the best in the world, and he's been last for the last 2 years.
Based on that, Bossy, are you surprised that J-Max got off the champ to ride Home Affairs?
No, not at all. Because I think if he was to stay with the old horse and Home Affairs won, I think that would be a little bit more financial hurt for J-Mac, because there'd be a stud deal, and he'd be part of that. So I'm pretty confident he went that way for a particular reason. And listen, he trialled the horse the other day, so he's got a very good handle on how this horse is going.
All right. Is there a left fielder? I can see you itching to say something.
Oh, no, look, I mean, those big-time sprints are, at the mercy of those older horses with the new kids on the block coming through. We've ducked and weaved a little bit with a nice mare that Rosemont raced called Minhaj that I just wanted to dub as my horse and give the punters some intel on her. She's going to be first up in the Oakley Plate.
Look sharp in the trial.
Down in the weights. It's been a long-term mission of John O'Shea to get her in this race with the right weight and give her opportunity. It's quite often one of those flash home horses with a light weight that wins an Oakley Plate. We tried it with Brooklyn Hustle last year and just failed. We're going back to the well with Minhaj, and if she runs well, she'll go to the Galaxy. Another opportunity for a horse with weight considerations come into it. So she gets her chance at that probably lesser Group 1 grade to pop off her big race, and I just wanted to let punters know that she is humming.
Nothing improves them like ownership. Form just steps up a level, but she is a very good sprinter, undoubtedly so. I love the 3-year-old Artorius. I've always been a fan of his. He's a quirky customer, maybe away from Flemington. Glen rode him in the Coolmore, and then another day at Flemington he was just going to bolt in at 1400, but for me, sit back, sort of 1,000 to 1,200 metres.
I tell you, he's a corner horse. He loves a bend.
And he could maybe something like the TJ Smith, if those old boys are off their game. I'd be keeping an eye on him. Artorius, Home Affairs. It could be nearly time for the young colts to push the old geldings out of the way.
And one last one to you, having been and conquered Ascot. Can Nature Strip at his age or an emerging Home Affairs, can they dominate over there?
Well, I think what we've probably seen in the Saudi Carnival and the Dubai Carnival to this point, and we've seen dead set C-graders from Australia and Parsifal and He's a Bolter go over and be competitive in the lead-ups. We haven't seen the big sprint. Nature Strip will carry them. They'll have to give him the Ascot grandstand for those sprinters to beat him. So they will go and do us extremely proud, as will stablemate Home Affairs, remembering he is Irish owned and they will want him front and centre. So does one go to the King Stand and one to the Jubilee Stakes or whatever, how Chris Waller works that out? It's a bloody good problem to have. I wish it was mine.
Tremendous batch of sprinters. Who will the standout sprinter be this autumn carnival? I'm going to go to you first, Mitho.
The standout sprinter, I think, will be Home Affairs. I dubbed him the 3-year-old category. I won't dub him because I think I'm stealing someone else's glory. Let's put Minhaj in for the punters to earn a buck out of, to win an Oakley Plate and then skip into a Galaxy and maybe put another one on her CV.
Are you going to go Home Affairs?
Well, two great minds think alike, obviously. But yeah, having a bit of knowledge about Home Affairs, I rode him last preparation in the Everest, and he actually got his tongue over the bit and raced on one breath, and only got beaten 5 lengths. And I said,
right?
Yeah, I said to Chris, this is an unbelievable colt. He should have got beaten 10. The tongue tie went on for the Coolmore, and you've seen the result. He's a star.
Nature Strip this week in the Lightning for you?
Listen, he's the tried and true, and at the 1,000 metres, I think he's probably too fast for Home Affairs. Eduardo's probably the danger. I think he'll run very big, and I'm looking forward to that clash. They've produced some great clashes over the season. I think we're forgetting one too. The Ma Eustace train.
Marabi.
Yeah. Marabi. Will she be still going round? She goes to the Oakley Plate. She probably goes to Sydney for some of those sprints. She's undefeated. I know she's worked her way through the grades, but couldn't have been more impressive. Yeah. But I'll go Nature Strip and Eduardo to probably beat the 3-year-olds in the Lightning this week. That's where my heart lies. But keep an eye on Artorias. I think on his day, and it won't be each time he fronts up, he could just produce something special.
Did you want to name any more horses there, Peter?
I love it. I was trying to pin him down to 1. He's given us 3. But hey, when you're Peter Moody, you can do exactly what you want. For what it's worth, I'm going to go with one of his 3, and that's Nature Strip. I reckon he can win the Lightning, and he just fends them off year after year, and he seems to be getting better somehow at his age. Will it be one of the old boys, Nature Strip, G-Tra, Eduardo, or will one of the young bucks dominate this sprinting season? Leave it in the comments below. This autumn, the middle distance racing is going to be fascinating. There's that established group of older horses, but will the 3-year-olds get to the business end and start to take over? Going to go to you first here, Moods. What do you make of these 3-year-olds, and will they be able to step in and take over the older horses?
Well, we've seen a 7-year-old import in Zaki dominate last year, along with my horse Incentivise here in Melbourne in the spring. Incentivise isn't there. Zaki's now a bit older. So this is the chance for the 3-year-olds to step up. Like I mentioned with the 3-year-olds, Profondo, Hertutsu, I think they're going to be very good to beat. But we saw Enemo, as an immature 3-year-old colt, arguably should have won the Cox Plate. So I think if he can be held together by the Darley team, he's going to probably be the horse that'll arrive in something like the Queen Elizabeth for sure.
Retrospect, Mitho's a wonderful thing, but would Zaki have won that Cox Plate, do you think, on what we saw the week after?
Without any doubt, yeah. I mean, he wins the Cox Plate, and we've got an undisputed weight for age champion middle distance horse in Australia going into the autumn, and he'd be short in every pre-post major weight for age race over 2,000 metres for the autumn. As it stands, I think there is that question mark. Didn't get to the Cox Plate, we didn't see. He was dominant in the McKinnon Stakes.
I would have beat the opposition pushing a wheelbarrow over 2,000 metres. Cascadian, a 7-furlong horse, ran second. Turn it up. Like he
I think
has
you said it before though, Pete. You can only beat what's in...
Exactly.
So you're not sure he would have won the Cox Plate?
Well, I'm not going to say that he was definitely going to beat State of Rest and Enemo. I thought they were very good. That was the weight for age championship. 2 weeks later is the also rans, and he absolutely pissed up.
Yeah.
Fantastic result. But he beat a 7-furlong miler in Cascadian. So, he's been the dominant weight for age horse. But if one of these 3-year-olds can't step up, they're nowhere near as good as we think they are.
Well, you love the 3-year-olds, Bossy. You've been saying it for weeks now. These 3-year-olds are set to dominate the carnival. Will they dominate these middle distance races too?
Well, what I've seen from Profondo, he's a magnificent specimen. He's got the breeding, he's got a beautiful running pattern. He breaks quickly, he puts himself on speed, and he seems to absorb pressure. He's only had 3 starts. I actually tried to get on him after he won his maiden. I desperately tried to get on because I thought...
No, did you really?
Well, that help up the retirement?
Get in under someone's neck, did you, Bossy?
We've got a headline. Bossy wouldn't have retired if he was on Profondo.
Well, I tell you what, I probably wouldn't have. But, they stuck solid with the boy. And now, and that's added pressure now. He's got to come out because he's on a really good horse. But, look, you don't see too many horses go from maidens straight into the Spring Champion Stakes and still do a lot wrong. He still doesn't know what he's doing, but he just was so dominant.
What does he remind you of? Is he a So You Think type of horse?
Oh, he's not that good. He's not that good yet, but he's just, and we don't know what these middle distance 3-year-olds, this form has got to come out yet, but you just got what I've seen, and I can just see Richard Litt, he'd be moulding that horse at the moment, and I think he's going to be very good. Queen Elizabeth, I think, is going to be he's probably his third run this prep. He's going to go light, and he'll be hard to beat.
When you say we've still got to see how good the 3-year-old form is, didn't we see it in the Cox Plate moves with Animo and what he did? I mean, you can argue forever whether he should have got that protest or not, but regardless, he almost won it.
Well, the one thing that was missing in due respect to Anthony was Zaki. We didn't see him there to marry that form up. So we're not 100% sure. Zaki would have been ultra competitive. If he didn't win the race, he would have been ultra competitive. And we had the absolute superstar champion, Very Elegant, charging home for third. So that makes that, for me, Very Elegant makes that form as good as there is. Yeah.
A little bit like the sprinters in this Autumn Carnival, it's all about whether the 3-year-olds can come up and knock off the established stars in the middle distance racing. Let's get a middle distance horse and a key target race from everyone. Mitho?
Yeah, look, I think Zaki's probably, Queen Elizabeth Stakes is a race that they'll be targeting, and I'm on Team Zaki for now.
Mr. 3-year-old lover, which one of the 3-year-olds is your middle distance horse?
Yeah, I'm all over the 3-year-olds this year, but Profondo, and it's going to be mouthwatering, this Queen Elizabeth, if they all turn up, like just say Animo, all these, Zaki and all this Profondo, if they all turn up on Queen Elizabeth Stakes Day, it could be the race of the autumn. And
just got Richard Litt on the phone.
Yes,
Richard. Glen will come out of retirement to ride Profondo. No problems at all.
I'm ticking over. I'm keeping fit. Yeah,
I'm on 5%.
But listen, if this could be the race of the autumn, and there's going to be a lot of good races throughout the autumn, but this could be the one.
So the Queen Elizabeth for Profondo?
Absolutely.
All right, now moods. Animo?
I'm with the Cox Plate form. Animo to be bigger and stronger. Wouldn't really wanted to have seen him out as early as he has been, but I'm not going to second guess James Cummings. He knows this colt very well, and I reckon he arrives in the Queen Elizabeth about 4th run in. Very hard to beat. And I'll throw you a left fielder. A horse of mine, Nickerjack Cave. He's had 1 run in 2 years, this horse. He beat the Melbourne Cup winner Twilight Payment 2 runs ago, 2 years ago, leading into the Melbourne Cup. He's back on track. He'll run in the Menyon Cup in about 3 weeks' time, en route to the Sydney Cup. He is a world-class stayer. Let's hope we can get him there in good order, and he will give a great sight in the 2-mile Sydney Cup.
Great insight there. Nickerjack Cave, one to watch towards the Sydney Cup. I'm going to join with moods. I'm going to go Animo for me towards that Queen Elizabeth, but a couple of others I'm watching to build through this carnival. Certainly, I'm thunderstruck towards an all-star mile. Do you think the 3-year-olds are going to come out like some other categories this autumn and dominate? Or will some of the proven middle distance horses win the big middle distance races? Let us know in the comments below.